Kia ora, talofa, hi, and welcome to episode 9 of Wainuiomanga's Team Talk, proudly sponsored by Victual, New Zealand's first health and wellbeing supplement that combines ancient Māori and Pacifica wisdom and ingredients. And my guest tonight, because it's nighttime here, but it's daytime where my guest is, he debuted in 2006, becoming the second male player of Samoan heritage to play cricket for New Zealand. He's played over 100 tests, 200 ODIs, one-day internationals, over 100 T20 internationals, becoming the first cricketer to play 100 matches in all three formats of international cricket. He's also New Zealand's most capped player across all three formats, and he is the leading run scorer for New Zealand in tests and ODI cricket. Luteru Ross Taylor, welcome. Thank you for making time over there in India.
Thanks, Tana. There's a very flattering intro. What do I say to that? That's a lot of warm-ups.
Oh, look, there's a lot of games in there. I can say there's a lot of warm-ups, and probably not a lot of warm downs as you were young. You didn't have to warm down as much.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's because I've played so many games, but our trainer lets me not do the ice baths. He's very respectful in that regard. He lets me pick and choose, which is a lot of choosing not to, because that's been my secret, not to get in those ice bars. But I did jump in there in Perth because it was too hot. Yeah, I needed to cool down. So I do pick and choose, unfortunately.
You're joining us from India, and you've just arrived there, obviously, and you've just seen the T20 team make it to the final. So that's 3 finals in 3 years across 3 different formats. That's amazing. And New Zealand cricket's going through a purple patch, and I must say, it's amazing. It's great to watch. What can you put your finger on that's really lifted New Zealand cricket at the moment?
It's a good question. Something that it was a better time zone for me to watch the game, so that was really good. But yeah, I thought of that myself. I thought, what has made this team so good? Because when I look at it, it's a very good team. But if you look on paper, there are better teams than us. But when it comes to tournament format, there's something that brings the best out in the team. I think experience. There's been a lot of guys who have, gone through the highs and lows of the team. But I think sometimes in these tournament formats, it's just finding a way to win, playing for each other, playing for your country. And I think that's a secret to the way the guys have been going. That was a fantastic win this morning. And just the response from the New Zealand public, you can see, even cricket fans are always going to watch, but it's also nice when non-traditional cricket fans or fans that just support the team in tournaments come out of the woodwork and pipe up. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I must say I am. I used to be a cricket watcher when I was younger, and I wanted to, talk about my little stories on cricket. When I was young, that's all I used to play with my mate. His father. We're talking around Lance Keane, Richard Hadley days, and his father carved us a Excalibur, out of a 2x4. Yeah, no shoulders, straight down. Yeah, we used that, and that's what we played all the time. And we had splinters in our hands, obviously, because we didn't have gloves, but we loved it. We played in a little lot there that didn't have a house on it, so we could play there all the time in those. And we got into it. We played a lot, and then we thought, let's join cricket. And so we decided to join up when we were younger. So that cricket ball's a lot harder than a tennis ball, and so that was a bit of a shock to me. And I think, that was the one shock that I'd never got over, that hard cricket ball. I put my foot in front of it to stop it, and it bounced up and smacked me in the ankle right on the boundary. And it was going quick, and then hobbled off, and I thought, no, I'm out of here. I think I'm going to go to a safer game like rugby or something.
Yeah, I think you made the right decision. I don't know about safer rugby, or you do learn. Gone are the days of being a hand model anyway when you play cricket and things. But no, I mean, I can remember going to my cousin's place obviously, my mother's Samoan, my dad's Palangi. So I used to always play cricket with my Palangi cousins, but it's quite interesting when I went to play in Wainui with my cousins, my Samoan cousins. They'll come in and they'll want to be Brian Lara or Mark Waugh. It was quite cool and different. But I had to endure a 4-hour marathon when my cousin got 531 on the backyard in Penkara and Wainui. I still have nightmares about it. But it's just funny what I guess you remember as a youngster and what sort of makes you hard and resilient, I think, from a young age.
Yeah, I never really got down to that end of Wainui. I was told a lot of stories about not going that far. I'm from the village.
I went for a drive there the other day to see what it was like, and it hasn't really changed much. So that was quite cool to see.
Yeah, no, it's I'll tell you what though, it is growing everywhere else around Wainuiomata. Last time I was back, and it's there's people that actually want to come over and live there now because you can tell because the house prices are going up.
Because I saw it, I thought there was I was driving past and I was like, that's the primary school. It was a new housing development and things. I was like, wow, even Wainui's going ahead. Still doesn't have a KFC though, so that's gone.
I think look, talking to you around that too, growing up and playing cricket, obviously, being Samoan and Pacific Island, everyone tends to go to the contact sports, what was your drive to become a cricket player? And also, I must say, I did read that you were a hockey player, and I did try that game too. So the sports you play are dangerous sports. One with a stick, Samoan with a stick, and a Samoan with a hard ball. He's dangerous. Yeah,
it was an interesting. I always wanted to play cricket. That was my first love. My dad played cricket. Wanted to go and watch him, sort of emulate him. He played sort of representative cricket for Wairarapa and whatnot, and he also played rugby. But my brother died playing rugby in Samoa. So I was quite a little kid. So Mum said, "Nah, you're not playing cricket." So our principal at our school, he was a hockey guy. So I just got into playing hockey. My sister played hockey, so I got onto it that way. And I think inadvertently it sort of really helped me out as for my cricket, really. Became good at it. Wairarapa was pretty famous for hockey and sort of punching above its weight in that regard. And yeah, for me it was good for my hand-eye coordination, getting a bit of fitness in the winter. There probably was a little point there where I might have had to have chosen which way to go, but there's always a career path in cricket, where the career path to hockey, I was always better at cricket, but I was obviously happy with the decision that I made.
And so as you went through, was there any thoughts about going to have a crack at rugby, or was cricket that was it for you as you were growing up?
Yeah, I think my dad probably would have liked him. And my family, they always loved rugby. But as I said, I was a small kid, and I probably played it just to intermediate and things. But I don't think I was strong enough. If only I was that kid. I'm about this size when I was about 14 or 15. If only I was that kid growing up a bit earlier, I probably could have gone with cricket, but with rugby, sorry. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have loved to have given it a go, but it is what it is, and happy with the decision.
No, you should be. So you should be, and also just around. I read, with you did say when you're at school, your name's Luteru, but they had to. They were starting to call you Ross because they couldn't pronounce it.
Yeah, it's funny what you remember as a young kid, but what I remember is, so we go in there with my grandmother, my mum, meet the principal, and not many island kids in Masterton back then. And yeah, Luteru, principal couldn't pronounce my name. So my grandmother said, "Oh, just call him Ross." And it's funny that, you know, in this day and age, I'd be called Luteru. You know, it's very accepted, and people have moved on. And you know, there's a lot harder names out there than Luteru, I would have thought. But no, I mean, it's an interesting story in itself. And yeah, when you do well, and it's a Ross Taylor, you know, I would be lying if I didn't think to myself what it would be like hearing your name yelled out at grounds as Luteru Taylor instead of Ross.
Well, hey, look, you know, we all know you're Samoan, so that's what counts. And I think, like, in terms of that, look, I've played with some multi-talented players. Piri Wipu comes to mind, you know, and you know, I just get amazed that we played cricket, and as I said, I was on the sideline because I didn't like the hard ball, but he'd smack it here, there, and everywhere. And you know, these naturally gifted Māori PI players that, you know, if I look at you and your pathway, you know, to what you've achieved, and also success, and obviously, you know, financially as well, you know, is there anything being done, you know, to try and get more Māori and PI players on, and do you have chats with any of them, and you know, to try and promote cricket?
Yeah, I think that's what I've tried to do for a few years, to try and, you know, promote it. I think it's probably easier that I do it myself, because sometimes you're relying on other people to do it, which can be tough to say the least. But no, I think there's the Samoan, Pacific Island, Māori people, it's an untapped market. I feel they all very athletic, strong, and naturally gifted. I think there's a few boys playing first class cricket at the moment. Sean Soler playing for Auckland. So there are guys out there, but I think if you see a Super Rugby side, the Warriors, the All Blacks, you know, obviously how many are in their side, and then you see the cricket side. It is obviously disproportionately out of whack, I suppose, in that regard. But I think it's about giving them opportunities to get in there. I think the Players Association, Cricket Players Association, are trying to get into the lower decile sides, schools, and just try and promote cricket. Because at the end of the day, if you don't give the guys a taste of it, then they're not going to get involved. We're not saying that in the next 5 years that half the team are going to be of Island descent. But if we can just get more people playing the game, that there's more at domestic level, and hopefully in years to come that there are more at the international level. But it's definitely an untapped market, and I think 2020 is probably a great avenue to actually bring the kids through, where, you know, the gear is expensive. You know, a lot of that stuff is tough, where I think if we can promote the game of cricket to the kids from a younger age, and to get into 2020 especially, you know, we don't have the time resources that we used to back in the day. There's so much going on, you know, so playing 2 and 3 day games of cricket are unrealistic. So if you keep it down to 2-3 hours, I think we can promote the game as much as possible. And as I said, I hope, you know, that there's a lot more kids coming through, you know, not only here, but in the Pacific Islands too. I went to Samoa to do some coaching, which was awesome. I mean, we had a catching competition, and this girl, I think she would have been 13 or 14, and I was absolutely smashing these balls in the air, and she was catching them like she was beating the boys. So the natural talent is there. I was coaching again for sort of advisor for Papua New Guinea, and the natural flair and raw talent that these guys have, they just, unless they're exposed to it, you're never going to understand and get to know what they're capable of doing.
I went back to Samoa end of 2019 to get my Matai title for my mother's side, and my uncle, my mother's brother, gave me the task of finding cricket gear. I said, "Oh yeah, what kind?" He goes, "I want cricket gear to take back to the islands." So I called our mate Murphy Swat, good man. You know, and he had bags of it. He just, yeah, take this. And, you know, my uncle's got this idea. So I had to, you know, obviously had some rugby kit and then some cricket gear. But, you know, like you say, it was just unbelievable. Like trying to promote the game in Samoa, especially when you look at where's the flat piece of grass, where you got to play. That's what I was asking my uncle. Where do they play? And he goes, don't worry, they'll find someplace. And lo and behold, we got there, and they, again, this gear was hardly none of it was used. Some of it was brand new, and no one put any pads on. They just put the wickets into the ground a little bit, and just started whacking away. But I think like it is a pathway for our boys, and boys and girls, to achieve what you've achieved. And I think there's something where obviously the normal one, or the common one, is obviously the league and the rugby, but I think cricket, for what it can give you, and obviously what we'll go into is you probably have a bit more longevity than some of these rugby these footy players.
I'll tell a story about I went over in 2017 with Murphy. That's when we went over, and I took over probably 5 or 6 bags of cricket gear and old like training tops and things. And Martin Guptill gave me a bag, and we handed it out the first day, gave it to the coordinators to give out, and we went. I went to go and see Mum's village, and we went for a drive-through. And the next day, it was just funny seeing these kids on the main street of Apia wearing like Central Districts and Auckland Aces and Black Caps kit. It didn't take long for
to get it all spread out.
It didn't take long for it to spread out, but it was cool. It was cool to see.
Yeah, no, and they love that. They love that. Getting kit and things like that, don't they? So your longevity in the game, what do you think? What can you put that down to?
I guess first for the love and passion for playing cricket. Been fortunate enough throughout my career to have some pretty amazing mentors and family and friends and past players to bounce ideas off. And as I've come towards the end of my career, the common theme is you're a long time retired, I think. And as you said, cricket's a lot easier on your body. I think I made a smart decision early in my career to give up bowling. I wasn't any good anyway, but the wear and tear on your body, what the bowlers go through is, especially the fast bowlers, is the stress and things that, especially their backs and their knees and things like that. So as a batter, there's not as much pressure in terms of that. So your longevity is a bit longer, but everyone said you're long time retired and you'll know when the time is right. But I love playing this game that I started when I was 5, and I still enjoy it. As long as you still want to learn and get better, still want to give on and off the field, and you're good enough, as long as you're ticking all those boxes and contributing to the team to head in the right direction, then age is just a number. Obviously, that's got to come at different stages. But as a batter, that is a lot longer than a bowler, or especially a fast bowler. There.
Now, as you say, you're a batter, and again, sorry, but I don't know how you do it, mate. Some of those balls coming down there. For me, what are you thinking when the fastest bowlers are coming at you? Can I just for me?
I think obviously muscle memory and all that. I think as a kid growing up, when a kid used to bowl, you're going to go and play a guy who bowls 120. You're 12 years old, you're pretty scared of that. You just get used to it. I think there's no more complications than that. To say that someone bowling 140 or 145, there has to be an element of you being scared of some sort. But you learn to deal with that, and the nerves and being a little bit on edge is actually good for your batting. I've faced some of the fastest bowlers, intimidating bowlers, but at the same time, you actually have a bit more time than you think. It's not as if you can't see it. But yeah, I suppose that's another thing. If your eyes start going, I think it might be time to move on as well. But I think, don't get me wrong, anything over about 140, 145 is very quick. And yeah, some are a bit easier to face than others, but yeah, there's always an element of fear, and I think the players that say that there isn't, I think they're lying.
You say that in terms of what you say, like resilience is a big thing, isn't it? It's a key attribute in terms of your career, especially in a career that's been so long, you know, the highs and the lows. Can you talk us through how you got through some of the lows and you know, how you manage the highs? Because you still got to, you know, you can't let those highs and ride that wave for too long before, you know, it comes crashing down.
Yeah, very much so. And as I said, I love this game of cricket, but I chose a mentally tough game. You know, you actually fail more than you succeed. And I mean, who chooses a job, a career path that you fail more than you succeed? But as you said, you need to, it builds resilience. And yeah, it's a tough one. It is a tough one, but geez, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, ask that again. You can edit that, eh?
Yeah, I can edit it. I'm good at it. Don't worry. I usually edit myself.
I was thinking I did have a point to go with.
Yeah, no.
Ask the question again. I can't remember now.
Jeez. See, now you're asking me. So, you know, when you've been in the game as long as you have, you know, there has to be some, obviously, skills that you pick up. Yeah, some resilience, you know, obviously is one of them, because you have to have it. And you know, you have the lows and then you have the highs and having to manage those. So, you know, can you just talk us through how you achieve that resilience and, you know, what are some of the strategies you use?
Yeah, I mean, I chose a sport that you fail more than you succeed as a batter. You know, if you only fail 62% of the time, you're probably going to have a pretty successful career. You know, you learn to deal with failure. You learn to deal with the fear of getting out. I mean, that's probably one of the worst things to do. But I think it all culminates down to, you know, loving the game and wanting to improve. I think if you can learn to want, each time you go out to train, to learn to want to get better, to bounce ideas off other individuals. And one thing I've learned out at cricket, you know, it's 2 on 11 when you're a batter. And I think we talk about in the team, you know, partnerships, and having empathy for your mate at the other end. And the better you do that, I think the better a team and better chance you are to succeed. That's not going to succeed all the time, but if you can stick together as a 2 against 11, you know, more often than not, you'll get through those hard periods. Because cricket can get, you know, this the topsy-turvy, the ebbs and flows of cricket. You know, sometimes the longer forms of cricket, it's just about batting, where, you know, one day 2020 there's a game situation that you just dictate how you play, where the longer format is just so simple, but it's just about batting. And sometimes you can look at things and overcomplicate things a bit, where if you can bat with your mate at the other end, and help them out when the going gets tough, and vice versa, if they can help you, the game of cricket does become a little bit easier.
I'm just thinking, and as you're talking about that, you know, you're over in India now, and you're about to start a test series. It's 5 days, and you're in the middle, and, you know, we see when we watch the heat, you know, you're out there batting for hours, you know, you always have these drink breaks. How do you manage that? You know, how do you, like, when I was playing, I'm a very good self-talker. I talk myself into a lot of things because, you know, that's kind of my strategy that I use. I have the best conversations with myself. You know, but, you know, I always wondered, you know, like when you're out, you know, I didn't realize you're batting, because I just think you're individuals, you know, you're obviously out there together, and all you're telling them, mate, you run when I tell you to run, or vice versa. But, you know, as an individual out there, how difficult is it? I realize it's really difficult, and, you know, just what's going through your mind out there?
Well, that's the thing. It's cricket's about switching on, switching off. Not only when you're batting, but when you're in the field. You know, when you're 160 overs in the dirt, and you don't know when your next wicket is, and the opposition are just slaying you all over the park, and you know you're going to bat soon. Obviously, experience, you get to learn to deal with that, but it's still really tough. You're away from home. It's 90% humidity, 37 degrees. It's not a cold day down in Dunedin or something like that. And quite often you're just out of your comfort zone. You got a bit of dally belly or something. That you just got to deal with that and truck on. And I think that's the thing as a professional sportsman. I'm sure you've dealt with it. Sometimes the best days that I've had, and not necessarily the days you go on and score 100 or something like that, but you had a bit of adversity. I don't know, something happened at home, the kids are up, or you had a bad sleep. You've been up since 2 a.m, but you got to find a way of just getting out there and doing your job. Sometimes I feel like those are the most rewarding days. Cricket might have only scrapped to 60 or 70. The media and the coaching staff say, might say well done, but no one really actually knows what went into that 60 or 70s. And some days it's 40. Those are the days, because that's the thing, you play so often. You can't feel great all the time. You just got to find a way. And I think from my point of view, they are some of the most special and most rewarding times is when you're not feeling great for whatever reason, form as well, but that other things that come in when you play over a long period of time that you never feel the same each day even from day one of a test match. Sometimes you're not physically tired, but you're very tired. You just got to find a way of getting through that. And as I said, experience comes with that, but probably getting away from the game of cricket, because you can be not out overnight and you played your innings over in your head 5 to 6 times, and by the time you wake up, you're cooked. So it's a mentally challenging game, physically challenging at times, but definitely a mental challenge, which is something where, for me, sports psychologist has become a very big part of the way I deal with different things. As I said, being a father, being away from home, all these distractions, that are not great for cricket. But sometimes our manager talks about it a lot. A problem shared is a problem halved, and if you can do that in the cricket sense, that makes your job a lot easier.
Yeah, I was just, one of my also talk around that too. Like you hear the stories of the 3 or 4 month tours cricketers go on, and like you say, you wonder with young families, 3 or 4 months. I found 2 or 3 weeks away with the same group tough, especially as I got older. But again, obviously technology's helped out a bit yet. So again, how do you deal with that? Does New Zealand cricket help with, I've heard of some of the families traveling sometimes. I know you've got a new protocol now where you can't be away from home, for a certain amount of days, which I think is awesome. Is it heading in the right direction?
Yeah, I think so. I think throughout my whole career, I've been lucky. We get our own room. We're all actually still room together. So if you want to bring your family over, you don't have to change rooms or allocate it. Here I am saying it's tough. I mean, it's so much easier now than what the guys had to deal with 20 or 30 years ago. I can FaceTime. I can see the kids grow up. I can see videos and photos almost on a daily basis. But it still doesn't help. It's not real in the fact that I'm not there and seeing it firsthand. But, those guys, as you said, going on 3 or 4 months tours, sending a postcard home, and almost the postcard, they get home before the postcard arrives. We're very lucky in that regard in technology, and I'm sure New Zealand cricket's been really, really good in terms of trying to get family and especially the ones with kids. And it's like the dynamics of teams change, where you got a lot of single guys, the odd father in the team, where now a lot of the younger guys are having kids and they're finding what it's Oh, is that what it's like?
It was great now.
They're yawning where, our kids are able to sort of occupy themselves on iPads and things like that. And they'll be like, see, never judge. Don't judge until it happens to you.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess it's the evolution of team dynamics and things. But no, as I said, it's definitely gone in the right direction to make things a lot easier. And I 100% wouldn't be in this position that I am if I didn't have a great wife and a family network to help out the kids, but also at the same time having New Zealand cricket, being able to have them on tour and not be frowned upon. It's more encouraged than anything.
Oh, nice. So you're in quarantine.
My thing's gonna. I thought I'd put it on the charger. You asked the question. Is that okay? I'll just charge it up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Apologies.
You're all right. You're in quarantine at the moment. So how long have you been in quarantine there? And how many times have you been in quarantine in the last 12 months?
I've changed my background now. Everyone will be. I thought I'd charge it up.
Okay, you're all right, bro.
I can show you my butter chicken I had last night. My brother-in-law was like, "Do they actually have butter chicken over there?" He thought that it was.
It's a westernized.
Westernized thing. I said, no, it's not called butter chicken. Is the background okay?
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Is there, what was I going to say? Yeah, bloody battery.
Just about quarantine.
Yeah, so quarantine. I've done it a few times now. I'm really looking forward to getting home for only a 7-day and then a 3-day at home. But I think you underestimate the quarantine's tough, but I think it's almost the bubble life when you are away. The World Chess Championship, the whole England trip, I went to a cafe once down the road, which was outside, and then we played golf at the Belfry. It's the only time I left the hotel apart from going to the hotel or to the ground. How sustainable is that? I don't think it's very sustainable. Seeing a lot of guys pull out for mental fatigue or bubble fatigue, whatever way you want to call it. But at the same time, towards the end of my career, it's probably I find it fortunate that it's come at this time of the career where some of these young guys are having to deal with things that I didn't need to deal with at the start of my career. They're trying to learn their game and learn their craft and dealing with bubble life. And I think international travel is pretty cool and a lot of the positives about playing cricket. Being able to travel and go to Taj Mahal and see some of the sights, as I'm sure you would. Playing in some of these awesome countries, you're not able to do that anymore. So that's a perk of the job, I suppose, is playing in these cool places, going to things you're probably not going to go and see if you were to go on holiday normally. But some of these young guys are probably not going to be able to experience that.
And that's the tough thing too, because obviously, a change of scenery, and you think you're going over to see someone, but also all you're doing is seeing another interior of a house or a room for long periods of time, which is exactly what we're pretty much doing here.
I don't know how this would have helped 10, 15 years ago if we were taking a Walkman around or DVDs or things like that, where at least we've got Netflix and to sort of waste a bit of time and probably going to some of these countries of the subcontinent. Their DVDs were very cheap and very good. So it's glad we don't have to carry that old school DVD player around. That if I showed my kids this is what I used to do, they would probably laugh at me.
In terms of leadership, we talk about, obviously you've led teams, and been part of some, quality leaders. What do you look for first and foremost in leaders? What are you looking for from your leader? And then secondly, we'll talk about, how do you want to be looked upon as a leader?
Yeah, I think I've been able to play in front under a lot of different leaders. And one thing about leadership is everyone's different and slightly different in their own way. Never come across somebody that's very similar or similar. They all skin the cat differently. For me, leadership is about actions and not necessarily about talking a lot. Some people are natural speakers. It's just being authentic and true to yourself, I think. But what I look for in a leader is someone who walks the talk, is able to be empathetic, but at the same time can deliver a message that is hard at times, but also can give a guy a cuddle at the end of the day. And I think some of the best leaders that I've played under, it's not necessarily just the leaders, it's the group that sits behind. It's the lieutenants, it's the guys who take the weight off the coach or the captain's shoulders, and sort of steer the team in the right direction. And once again, that can be a player who's played 5 games to a person who's played 100 tests. But there's got to be room for that in your environment to do that. But I think leadership's is about actions, and a lot of it I think is about actions and walking the talk and just being approachable as well. I think if you can have someone that's approachable. I think quite often people talk about communication and things. Communication means totally different things to different people. So as long as they're approachable, I think the communication part will come with it.
Have you found, being a player of your standing at the moment, and you've got young players coming in, that approachable part, if you find it hard for some young players to approach you because of your reputation, I mean, in terms of being, one of the best players in the world, and they kind of tend to feel like, oh no, I don't want to, sometimes I don't want to look dumb, or that's Ross Taylor, or no, you don't want to waste the time for my question, Yeah,
I think back to when I was a youngster. I feel like I'm just the same person that I was when I first started, but then I think back to when I was a youngster and I looked up to Stephen Fleming or Nathan Astor, and you're intimidated to go up and talk to them. And I think then at the same time, when some of these players would talk to you, I felt like they talked to me at the wrong time. So there's a balance there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think talking to different people, is finding a time to talk to these individuals, and also going up to them once they come into the team, almost before, just touching base with them, saying congratulations on making the team. So the ice is almost already broken, so that they feel, because we don't play domestic cricket that often, and when we do, sometimes you're playing with a guy you've actually never seen play before. When they play in your team, that's the first time you play with them. So, if you can, I guess, break the ice, as I said before, it just makes it a bit easier for those two-way conversations. And me, it's about batting with them in the nets and getting to know their game. But as I said, I got some really good advice. I just got advice at the wrong time. So I've got to learn myself. Hopefully, the advice I'm giving them is it's the right thing to be saying to them at that stage of their career, and at the same time, is it the right time to be passing on this information? Because there's been a lot of advice given to me over the years, and maybe I'm a slow learner, but it resonates with me a year down the track, and I'm like, oh, that's what he was meaning. Where if I was in a better frame of mind, or they delivered it at a different time, maybe I might have taken it in. But that's the thing about having a long career. There is no right or wrong. It's just as long as you get to that end stage at some stage. Sooner rather than later would be ideal, but that's not how the world works, unfortunately.
Well, and that's another skill, isn't it? Everyone wants to give you advice, even through social media.
Even the punters.
So it's just differentiating which is the good stuff and which isn't, and like you say, sometimes, it's hard to pick, what to listen to that'll help you progress forward. And like you say,
the radio sport punters, they just give their 5 cents worth and then the family tell you about it, where now the radio sport punter keyboard warrior can come straight to you and tell you their opinion. So you learn to grow a pretty thick skin, but some of them are pretty funny at times as well, which makes it a little bit easier. But that's the thing. I guess in my career, I'm sort of in the middle of no social media to social media and having to deal with that side of it. Where these guys coming through now, that's all they know, and they're teaching me how to use laptops and iPads and half the gadgets on my phone I still don't know how to use, but they calling me a dinosaur, so it works both ways, I guess.
You and me both, brother. I know what you mean.
I'll see my knees getting caught. I'll try and pull this back.
Oh, jeez. All good?
Sweet. Is that all right? Sorry, how long? Apologies.
No, that's perfect, bro. Like I said, mate, we just chatting. Now what I want to is also, what's it like playing in India? Obviously, India is, like playing, I think you've said it before, is like playing, the All Blacks in New Zealand. Can you just let us in on what it's like and what you can expect from not just obviously the team, but the crowd?
Yeah, I think, cricket's a religion over here. You watch the ads on TV, all the cricketers do ads. Where New Zealand, not even the All Blacks do all the ads. But over here, they're fanatical. There's 1.4 billion people. We were obviously COVID times, it's a little bit different. But my wife was, obviously a little bit nervous about coming over here. And obviously what had happened with Delta in February, March, April. So we're coming in, flying into the airport, wondering how it's going to be. So when I told my wife, I did about 30 selfies before I'd even got on the bus, before I'd even got to pick up my bags.
She wasn't were they that close to you to have a selfie?
And that's the thing. Like, I think you're supposed to social distance in New Zealand or anywhere. There's no social distancing going on here.
No selfie sticks?
No, that's probably where it would have become good. But they keep telling me they're double vax. So
sweet as then.
I said, was it? And I said, was it Pfizer? And they're like, no, Indian stuff, even better. So no, I mean I haven't been here for a few years, but from when I first came in 2006 to play an IPL, I've been really fortunate enough to play at some pretty cool teams with some pretty amazing cricketers, idols of mine growing up, and to share a changing room with them. But no, India, it's until you come over here and explain it to people, Premiership in England is amazing and all that, but the way they react to cricketers, Jaipur here, I played here in 2011 for Rajasthan, and I drove past them all on the way to our hotel, and I remember that. And I was like, why do I remember that place? And then I was like, I was playing for Rajasthan, Johan Botha, South African spinner, and Rahul Dravid were at breakfast. And we're like, come on, Rahul, let's go and get a coffee. There's a Costa, we'd been there before, there's a McDonald's and a Costa's. And Rahul was a bit skeptical. He thought, oh, nah. He knew what would happen, but us naive Westerners, we went to this mall and we were literally there for 2 minutes, no security. There would have been 5,000 or 6,000 in the mall within 2 minutes, not to see me or to see Johan Botha, but to see Rahul Dravid in the flesh. All these phones, the mall security had to get us out. We felt so embarrassed.
Did he say thank you?
And he said, oh, no. He said, like, no problem. They don't see many famous people here. I was like, he knew what was going to happen, but he was too nice a guy to tell us tell us that we were in the wrong, and to say Rahul Dravid never came for coffee again with us. He stayed home. So I mean, that gives you a little insight into
exactly.
Yeah, very fanatical. I'm sure. Yeah, Odin Barrett could go and have a coffee down the road, and right. He would have to do the odd thing. But what Kohli and Tendulkar and what these guys have to deal with here in this country on a daily basis would be, until you see it, I don't think you would believe it.
No, geez. Yeah, well, even just watching it from afar, you still can get a glimpse of how crazy it is, and what the stories that we've heard. And, a lot of stories obviously coming out of, what you guys have to put up with or live with when you travel to India. Does that also play, you said your wife, gets a bit worried and, all those other things are security wise. You feel pretty safe when you go there?
Yeah, I mean, you have security and, as I said, fortunate enough to bring the kids over here. So it is different. Okay. It is different. When you got your 5-year-old daughter and there's a guy outside our door with an AK-47, that's not something you, they probably think it's a toy gun. I don't know. But, I don't feel like, I think a lot of the thing in this part of the world is just keeping the fans away. We got in here and there was a bit of a fanfare, but once the Indian team arrives at this hotel, especially at the smaller cities that don't see cricket a lot, there are thousands of people just waiting to get a glimpse of a Kohli or Rohit Sharma, and then they'll yell out Bolt or Southey or Taylor or Williamson. It's it's funny, where outside our hotel in the Pullman or the Sofitel, there's probably one or two people that just want an autograph or something. So it gives you a little bit of a scale and perspective on it.
A little bit different. So, you've had an illustrious career, and so we'll talk about what are your plans for life after cricket? Are you still, mate, you still got a lot of years in you. Matanunu's still playing rugby. He's 40. So
he beat my beloved Warwick Bush the other day too. I mean, as I said, you're a long time retired, and I feel like I just, even if I do retire playing for New Zealand, I still feel like I'll play cricket at a domestic level or whatnot, or going forward. 10%. Do you want me to start that again, or did it cut out?
Yeah, it's that. When it cuts out, you can still hear you.
You can still hear. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Did you want me to start it again? Or
yeah. So what's your plans for life after cricket after you've had such an illustrious career?
Yeah, I mean, I guess after, if I do retire from international cricket, I feel like I still want to play cricket and play some domestic stuff. But probably one of the best things the Players Association have done in New Zealand is have a PD program where it just gives just checking in with guys, and especially, I'm sure it's in rugby and a lot of these professional sports, that a lot of these players sort of give up sort of going for the university or apprenticeships and things, and put all the energy into being a professional sportsman. And what I think we've found is that a lot of guys who did that are starting to struggle once they finish playing cricket or rugby for various reasons. Obviously playing, the accolades and the camaraderie that everyone has, but then some guys have done financially better than others, and you got to take your hat off to the guys who actually still play professional sport and are able to do a degree. It might take them 2 or 3, 4 years longer than than what it would be if they weren't a professional athlete. But these guys have got something to fall back on. Some guys get into coaching, commentary. For me, my goal when I first played cricket was to have a freehold house. that was my goal.
Yeah.
I thought, well, if you can have a freehold house, then whatever you do after cricket, that you're secure in where you've got a house, you've got a roof over your head and things like that. But IPL's come along, and a lot of guys have done fantastically well financially. But then there's guys who, I feel like a domestic cricketer who gives their life to playing cricket. The other ones, I think, I think the PD program, especially, becomes very important to that transition to being a professional athlete, to just being a normal, punter, so to speak. It's easier for some, and obviously the highs and lows that come with sport, and we joke about your teammates and going on the road. I spend more time with these guys than I do with my family, so you get to know them pretty well. So you miss that side of it. For me, no, I've tried to live it within my means, knowing that cricket's not going to be the be all and end all for the rest of my life, and try to not splurge too much. But no, I think I've had some really good advice from different people. When cricket does finish, I don't think I'll be just sticking to one thing. There'll be a lot of different things to occupy yourself. And if there's anything that's happened really for the benefit of myself and cricket and after cricket, is COVID, I think. Staying at home, understanding what it's going to be like when you're not playing cricket. You're doing your wife's head in. The 2 weeks that you're home in between tours is really, it's great. But then I was there for 3 or 4 months. I haven't hit a ball since hitting the winning runs at the World Cup. When was it? In June, July. So that's the longest period I've gone without hitting a ball competitively. And having my son do throwdowns to me at about 10 kilometres an hour was not the ideal preparation for a test tour. But I think that the best players are the ones who prepare for it and prepare a long way out. Because as you know, you're a long time retired. You're only an injury away from having to find another job. But if you can look at a lot of different options, having that fulfillment, and for me, it's doing something that I love, and whatever that new job is, that gives me the same satisfaction of playing cricket and extending myself to be as good as I am at whatever I choose to do next.
Yeah, look, obviously, we hear about the financial, how would you say? Well, the financial sides of the IPL and how it can help you, and it's very good for you cricket players, which is great. And as you're saying too, it's how you use that windfall to secure yourself for life after, because you've talked about it. We can't play our sport for the rest of our lives, and we all fall into coaching gigs and things like that. I was a bit like you. I thought, I'll buy a house. I got that, one of the first things I did. And that was it. Got a house. now everyone thinks everyone's got 10 houses around me. So I go, guys, did you have to get more than one?
It's like Monopoly.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
No, well, that's right. But in terms of the cricket too, like what I'm talking to other guests that they're saying, you've got to get out of that comfort zone in terms of, you're talking about the PD program, and similar to you guys, our PD program gives our guys the skills to communicate and talk to sponsors and, try and create that network. I'd say it would be the same in the cricket. And have you been able to use your network and, cricket people to help you look for other opportunities outside of cricket?
Yeah, I think so. And and these people, it's when you become a professional sportsman or whatever it is, there's a skill set there that a lot of employers crave, and the professionalism, the disciplines that a professional athlete sort of takes for granted as what they have to do. That's a skill set that's actually quite sought after. That you get to meet some fantastic people, and it's not necessarily it's a network in itself. Don't get me wrong, but I think from my point of view, it's just bouncing ideas off these people and picking their brains. It's like when you're an aftermatch and you go and talk to the best cricket player, the best batter in the opposition team. Rugby, you go and have a chat, have a beer after the game, and talk rugby to get better. That's different to talking to these business people who want to talk about cricket, but at the same time, I'm just as interested to talk to these guys about how successful they've been, what they've done, and it actually helps your cricket as well, without them ever knowing. Don't get me wrong, the networks, but these people are highly successful at what they do, and both the skills cross over in some regard, and some are very good friends, and you're almost going in and then picking your brain and not being able, not being offended when they critique you for doing something wrong in a business or a life skill set. That just makes you a better person, and hopefully you don't make that mistake twice.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. You have a bit of vulnerability, and don't be scared to fail. I think you said that earlier in our chat. Because you've just got to learn from it, and there's plenty of people that will help you through it too. Good people that who just want to help. I've got a question here. What do you do for your own health and well-being? You've talked about being away from home a lot. The mental aptitude that you have to put into your when you're playing. How do you look after yourself in both those states? Your well-being and your health.
I like to spend time by myself in my room, and I love going to have coffee. So this bubble life and things has been a bit more difficult than being able to get away. Guys go and play golf in between to just get away from it, the pressures of it. For me, as I said, Netflix. I'm a big wannabe wine buff. I enjoy reading up on wine, and I collect a lot of bottles, and I bring wine with me. And there's a few of us over here that you play a test match and finish it regardless of what the result. It's quite nice to sort of relax and just get away from it. And as I said, regardless of where you are in the world, being able to have a New Zealand Pinot or Rosé or something, and bring some Whittaker's chocolate bar. That I think that's another thing about IPL, which is quite good. It's actually quite cool going to different people's places as well. Obviously, in this day and age, it's probably not as realistic, but being able to go to South Africa, go to England, come to India, Sri Lanka, go to different players that you play with at IPL, houses and homes to see how they live, their different cultures, because it is totally different, but it's pretty cool at the same time to see how they live, and I guess it's a home away from home that you're able to see a family and sort of reminisce of how you miss your family back home and things, but. No, I think it's a positive, and as I said, this psychologist, sports psychologist, your teammates, your close mates, and being able to just switch off and talk to family and friends back home. As I said, regardless of whether you're doing well or not, there's always people, even your closest family, that are giving you advice and things, and they're only doing that because they care and they want you to do well. But sometimes it's But like what I said before, when a youngster, it's when you actually hear that information that's probably the key than quite often what the actual content is.
Well, you take supplements for your health, mate. Victor might be able to hook you up to balance out your pinots.
Yeah, but I might have to get into the carvers as I get a bit older.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, the Carver King will be happy you said that.
We get a supplement, a multivitamin from our trainer when we're away, but it hasn't been a massive part of my
you must have
good
clean lifestyle, mate. Clean lifestyle.
I could play till I'm 45 if I was on the supplements.
You don't want it too good, mate. You don't want it too good. You got to have some vices, otherwise it's it becomes.
Actually, you just reminded me. I forgot my AirPods coming over here, but I've also forgot my supplements. I left them in the car because our nutritionist gave it to us probably a couple of months ago, and I thought, I'll leave it in there, and I forgot it. So,
oh my goodness!
Hopefully the trainer can bring some.
Hook you out. I'm sure, mate. Seniority. You might just go have one of those timely chats to the young guys.
What do you recommend for a cricketer?
I don't know, mate. Geez.
For the joints.
Oh, the joints.
Concentration.
All those. We got. Mitchell can help you with all that, mate.
That's where I'm going wrong.
Yeah. Oh, look. Hey, Luteru. It's been a pleasure, and look, I don't want to keep you from your Netflix, and I know I just want to really appreciate your time to talk to me, and wish you all the best for your upcoming Test series over there in India. And we'll be watching, and you've made a lot of people proud, so we thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was good fun.
My pleasure. Appreciate it, brother.